Welcome to the Average Australian Podcast.
Oh, what a fabulous volley from Tim Cahill! You will not see a better goal than that at the World Cup this summer.
Oh,
Big
great
save.
save again by
It's a
Swanson!
huge save.
Cahill! Tim Cahill has done it again!
Might drop for Fornaroli! Oh, that is simply brilliant!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Average Australian Football Podcast. This is episode 30. It's a special episode this week as we mark our first completed run for the 16-17 A-League season. This week's show is going to be all about the A-League Grand Final with a look back at the semi-finals and the season as a whole. We will of course cap off the show with some EPL and Champions League. With that said, let's get straight to it. I am joined once again this week by the on and off again Perth Glory fan, Edin. Edin, welcome back. How's your week been?
Hey mate, how are you?
Not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Well, on and off Glory, so they lost. No biggie for me. I wasn't on the band.
I heard you. I heard you went to the game. What'd you think of it? A bit of a strange.
That was good.
What was it like inside the ground with like the VAR, right? Because I'm watching on TV. It's a different experience. I'd like to hear what you actually thought. Like inside the ground, were you confused at all? Like,
well, no, it's strange because having introduced the VAR and then having only seen it on TV, there was never really an explanation of how it was actually working. And now that I was at the game, it actually made sense, and it was like the first time it actually clicked. And I was just wondering, like, why don't they do this actually for TV? Because what they did before the game or before kickoff was actually put up on the big screens like an explanation of the video review system. So they basically
okay.
So, and these are things that I did. I watched it and I was like, oh, I'm actually learning about this for like the first time, except it's been in use for like 3 weeks. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why hasn't this been on the Fox Sports broadcasts or something? Like, so what they basically do
that is strange.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense because, this is the first time I actually understood it. And what I didn't know is that the basic gist of it is the match is constantly being monitored by this video review system. So it's just automatically like they have a look at things.
Okay. Because I was going to bring up something. Yeah.
And so basically, apparently, they're always like watching it and whatever, and they can, I guess, go down to the ref, or the ref can review to them. And then basically what they say is, if a decision is under review, you'll get like these lights come on.
Yeah.
And then, if it's like this decision, these lights come on. If it's a decision going the other way or whatever, these other lights come on. And it's like, okay, now it all makes sense. But, I'm just flabbergasted that they couldn't actually do that before, like, each of the games or something like that. It just doesn't make sense.
See, that's a very different interpretation and experience with the whole thing, right? Because I'm watching on television, and let me first say that I thought the right team won. There's no question that Sydney should have won the game. But like when you look at the VAR, this is from a television point of view. I felt like both decisions were influenced by the home fans. It felt like it wasn't being reviewed until Sydney players made a fuss, and then the referee sort of responded to it, and then he looked to the VAR. But you're saying obviously that the VAR is always in action, so I mean that obviously isn't true. But just from the TV, it very felt like even with the play acting, I think that was in the second goal where he like clutching his face. It just felt like because Sydney were at home, they had this luxury of VAR that. For the second goal, I still think it's open to interpretation a little bit, but like the third goal, obviously the correct decision. But yeah, it just felt like the referee was being influenced into something that he was perfectly fine with until that point.
Well, and that's the thing that I think is still confusing even to me is like, okay, so the game is being constantly monitored, and if there's like an obvious error, the video referee can step in, right? But if he doesn't step in, that doesn't mean that then the on-field referee can't review it or send it to the video referee for review or for clarification. So that's what I guess happened in that second goal was the video ref saw it and went, yep, they've disallowed it. That's fine. And then, like you said, the ref was under pressure from the Sydney players and the crowd and everybody else. And so he sent it up for review.
Yeah.
And the video ref went, okay, well, now that I look at it, yeah, it could be a goal. So he's overturned it.
Do you think if the game is in Perth, that gets given to the VAR?
Well, and this is what I don't understand is that was it perfectly fine to be disallowed? And then basically what they even came out and said was, oh, it's 50-50, right? So
don't you think it should be with the first decision then?
Exactly. I just think, that's the big stuff up then, because, like you said, if it's 50-50, then either decision you could see being correct, which I actually agree with, because that's what the interpretation was. It was obstruction.
Yeah.
But then the video ref went, well, it was only very minor obstruction. So by looking at it both ways, you could make a case for it. So what's the point of overturning it? Like, you only overturn it if it's like clear cut. So it just went, it was a 50-50 decision that went from one side to the other. Like, I can't believe it. That's the worst decision I've ever seen, in the worst use of the video ref. That's pointless.
Because the EPL made changes where if you're offside and you even get involved in the play at all, like, it's automatically offside. So even if you're not talking about interference, like, he is offside and he does influence the play.
Yeah. Oh, look, when they disallowed it, I was perfectly fine with it. And the thing is, you could say, Sydney could, like you said, you could make a case for Sydney being aggrieved because it was very minor.
It was 100%.
And so you can make a case for it, but when it's a line ball decision, what's the point of overturning it when to the other side? It's still going to remain controversial.
Exactly.
And they even basically said, like, when they introduced the video ref, the whole point was, it's to eliminate the howler. That's all I've been hearing for like the last few weeks. It's to eliminate the howler. Well, this didn't eliminate a howler. It was just a 50-50, and they switched sides. Like,
that's why I had a bad feeling, because it felt like he was being pressured into it. And
it looked like it.
He made the correct decision on the third goal, but I still felt like he got pressured because you saw Sydney play act. Thankfully the right decision got made, but I just didn't like how it came about.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it was the wrong decision to overturn it. And this is the other thing. I think you see that in cricket where, when the referee sends it to the video referee for review, if it's inconclusive or it's a 50-50, the video ref actually sends it back to the on-ground ref.
Yeah.
And goes, look, it's inconclusive, it's either way, so you might as well just stick with the original decision.
Exactly, right.
And I don't see the point of the ref being overruled on this one. So that was strange, and it's just the whole thing, like you said, on the ground. That comes up on the screen like, the decision is being reviewed. And it's just, I'm like, it's not football anymore. It's not. It's just dumb. Like, put it this way, the A-League's the only league in the world doing it. So that tells you something. Like, it's just dumb.
I always thought it was a really good decision, in theory, when I thought about it, because I, just as an Arsenal fan, I've been aggrieved by referees so many times that, like, I'm just like, I wish there was video review, because, like, red cards and such change games dramatically. But now you see it in Perth Glory. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased with my, a leniency towards Glory, but, like, it just felt that, it slowed the game down. It changed. And it was. I felt like it was definitely influenced by the crowd. And in those 50-50 decisions where it's human interpretation, like, you've got to go back to the original decision. Otherwise, there's going to always be controversy.
Yeah, that's right. And this is. I just get the feeling like the A-League is just trying to mask bad refereeing with, like, more referees.
They're trying to modernize.
That's basically what.
To hide the fact that
I don't even think it's that.
You don't think so? I feel like they're trying to modernize. No,
I think you're right. Yeah,
like in terms
to
of
hide the fact. Yeah,
like a press, like a good bit of PR, because internally they're really struggling to organize their structure. And I think this is a good marketing tool when you look at the back room, which we'll talk about. Like, they're really struggling to make key decisions.
Well, yeah, that too, and also just, I think, specifically one of their failures has been the quality of the refereeing. And instead of announcing, like, improvements to refereeing, they're just like, let's just chuck in a video ref. And now even that's a debacle, I reckon, with that 50-50. That's just made the level of video refereeing in this country terrible. So it's like, we can't even get that right. Like, I mean, I'm just amazed. And like I said, it's just makes for weird atmosphere at the game as well. And, like, honestly, if this grand final is decided by a video decision, That's going to be that's just going to be weird. I don't know how that's going to go down. That could really ruin it.
The concern
that's
is
be interesting to see.
I always thought it was going to be for like the red cards or the
that's
offsides.
What they kept saying.
But like I've seen 2 goals now that weren't offsides. They were like sort of given because of other rules like interference and fouls and such. And I'm concerned now that like I think we're going to see this far more than I ever thought we were.
Yeah, I just think the whole thing is, I'm like I said, I'm just worried that they're misusing it now. It was supposed to eliminate the howler, and now they're just using it as a crutch. And it's just, I don't know. I just want to see a clean grand final.
Yeah, me too.
Got tickets to the grand final, by the way, so I hope it's going to be a good one.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a struggle.
Yeah.
It was a struggle to get tickets, I'll tell you what. Like, I mean, they came out on Monday. And I think, first it was like Sydney FC members, then it was Melbourne Victory members, then it was like Football Federation Australia members, of which I am one, which I think is, you can just register and you get a membership number or whatever. And so I could buy one from 5 p.m. on Monday, and I went online at about 15:15, and it was all single tickets only for like platinum, reserve, all this sort of bronze. And then I just couldn't get anything at all, and I ended up then, I don't know, I got lucky. I think maybe some people didn't finish off, because you only get 3 minutes now on the Ticket Tech website to like complete your transaction. So yeah, I think so. So it must have if your time's out, those tickets get released back into the pool, because eventually I was able to snag a couple of tickets, but they went quickly. They went very, very quickly. I was surprised, and not cheap either. Like, you want to get on the subject of FFA. FFA take all the money from the gate on all finals matches, right? So it's no surprise that they've just jacked up the price monstrably. It's insane.
How much is it?
I think the tickets for the Sydney FC Glory game, I think we paid for, I believe they were bronze seats, and they were $59 each.
Wow, that is expensive.
Which would normally be, I think, maybe like $30 in a normal Sydney game. And now I think for this one, I think they were like those. If I was able to get those bronze seats again, I think they were $99 now for the grand final.
That's just too much, right? I think, like for the A-League?
It's too much. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, there's no Del Piero's not there. There's no freaking, there's no big. I mean, it's the grand final and everything. But look, if it was Sydney FC controlling the prices, it wouldn't be that much. But here's FFA again. Just dips its hand into the kitty jar. Oh, we'll take the gate from all the finals. No wonder the A-League clubs want to kick the FFA out of the A-League.
Yeah, I know. What do you think about the deal being rejected? Do you think that's pretty to be expected?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, all the pressure's on FFA. They've got to do a deal. Like, they've got FIFA on their back. They're not going to get out of this that easily. Like, FIFA is serious, and they can't keep ducking FIFA, so the clubs have the upper hand here. So I think they're going to just stand firm and get it done. And the pressure's on the FFA; they need to do something.
It's going to be intriguing to see if a deal can be made, because I just feel like there's a chance that the A-League clubs could go overboard with their demands, and we might be at an impasse. And which will be interesting for the next season if this continues. Hopefully, it doesn't.
Yeah. Well.
What did you make of the Sydney game itself? Like, I thought Perth were very poor. Similar to the game the teams played in the regular season, Castro was awful at set pieces. In the first half especially, just wasn't getting over the first man. And Sydney just, that next level, say what you want about the VAR, but they were very, very clinical.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I thought Glory had some moments early on, at least, they were showing a bit of hustle, but they just couldn't. I mean, Sydney are just too good. That's all it is. Like, Glory weren't that bad, but they weren't at their brilliant best. And they just couldn't find any space. They couldn't find any time. Sydney were everywhere. There were some great touches from Ninkovic again. And they were just all over Perth. And when you got goals like the one from Brillante, out of nowhere. Like, that was just a thunderbolt.
Was it out of nowhere, though? Because they gave him so much time to hit that. Like, no one went to him.
Well, no, that's true. And look, yeah, Perth looked a little flat, a little bit under pressure. And that's Sydney. That's credit to Sydney, because that's what Sydney do to teams, you know. I mean, I don't think Glory were terrible, but they just couldn't really get out of second gear, you know. They just couldn't find any room or time, and Sydney just worked them hard. And then I think, you know, after 3-0 up at halftime, I think Sydney just kind of flicked a switch after halftime and just kind of settled into a groove.
I think they're just trying to protect their players at that point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, and Glory, you know, busted their guts out, but again, just couldn't make any headway at all. And that just shows you how good Sydney FC are, that, you know, Glory just could not, you know, get out of that quicksand that they were in, just constantly under pressure, no time. Castro couldn't get into the game. They just looked flat, and I think a lot of that was actually due to Sydney. Yeah,
100%. Sydney, very, very clinical once again. It'll be interesting to see how they go against Melbourne. You did reference, hopefully, that VAR isn't involved in that game. I am interested to see what would happen in terms of Sydney's legacy if both the semi and the final were marred by the VAR controversy. They deserve all the credit they get. It's just, I don't know, this game, when I look back at it, it just seems very, I don't know, it wasn't what it should have been in some respects.
No, definitely, yeah. It definitely takes away from it. I think at the end of the day, no one will remember the semi-final, so that's not a problem. But if the grand final is mired in controversy, then that'll be bad. But I don't think it'll come to that, because if we ever look at the Melbourne Victory game, they didn't really do much for me, to be honest.
The first half was very tight. I think they got lucky that Brisbane had their midweek game, because then that strange injury in the to the keeper, and it's just everything went against Brisbane. I thought they were actually quite high intensity, given that they had the 3 games in the week, but they just ran out of legs. Rojas should have scored, made it 2-0. Berisha, you know, he scored, but I don't think he was fantastic. Neither was Rojas. Truisi still looked off the pace. So, I mean, they've got massive things to work out for the final itself. But I guess when you look at the balance of this season, it always had to be these 2 teams. They were the top 2 teams, in my opinion. If you look at the balance, and the best moments in the season came from these 2 teams, I think, when they were in form. So yeah, I think it'll be a great final. Just, you know, fingers crossed that Melbourne can show up, because I could easily see Sydney doing to Perth, doing it to Melbourne, because I think it might be a similar type of game, hopefully without the controversy.
Oh, yeah, look, I think you're right. I mean, Victory are clearly the number 2 team, but they are way, way off from Sydney. And, yeah, like you said, on the one hand, I think, you know, it could be a tight game. Melbourne, you know, they're talking a big game already. You know, they're saying Sydney are vulnerable and all this sort of stuff. And, you know, they've got the quality. But then on the other hand, I think even as good as Victory are, Sydney could just cakewalk this. And another 3-0. I mean, they're just impossible to break down. They're just too good in defence. And like you said, Melbourne, they still just don't look sharp. Brisbane were all right in that game. It was an arm wrestle. And eventually, you know, like you said, the legs ran out for Brisbane, but they were up into it. And, you know, Berisha, yeah, he scored 1, but he missed he still looks off the pace, and Rojas is still down. Not seeing much from Troisi. I just think they really need to turn up in a big way. Otherwise, I think Sydney could steamroll them, just as they have done, like you said, to Perth Glory and everyone else before them.
Which venue is the grand final at?
It's Allianz.
It's Allianz. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm surprised. I mean, it's difficult in Australia, right? There's not too many soccer specific stadiums, but do you have any problem with it being at Allianz, given the Melbourne and Sydney based teams?
Oh, no, I think, like, you know, I mean, their only other option was to move it, I guess, to Homebush, but they probably wouldn't be able to get like 80,000-90,000. And Allianz is the home ground for Sydney. This way, if it is a sellout and you're looking at, you know, 60,000-65,000, it'll be a cracking atmosphere. But I think the real problem with the Allianz Stadium at the moment is the quality of the pitch. And
yeah, that was atrocious.
well, that's right, and I think it's pretty much got to the point now. You saw on the news there where they were actually trying to get the Waratahs to move their Super Rugby game, because there's a rugby game on Saturday night or Friday night or something like that, and they were trying to get the Waratahs, New South Wales Waratahs, to move their game, and they said no. And then, the Allianz groundskeepers were like, they're going to be working all day Saturday and all day Sunday to try and, prepare the pitch. But it's gotten to the point where I think even Graham Arnold or the CEO of Sydney FC or whoever it was basically just came out and said it's the worst pitch in Australia at the moment. And for the grand final to be played on that's the real concern here is, like you said, I mean, there's no grounds, but the pitch is just an absolute shocker. It's hopefully doesn't affect the game.
It just shows a lack of quality in the league itself, doesn't it? Because you saw Perth Glory, Diego Castro get very frustrated at the pitch.
Oh, yeah.
Especially down the Perth Glory end in that first half. And you just don't want to see the pitch being a talking point in like a game like this. It shouldn't be like this. And
that's
there's a lot of good... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, if they had to move the game, then they got to move the game because, like you said, I mean, you want to see quality football. You're not going to see it on a cow paddock. And again, this is just something for the clubs to work out as well. I think like they need to invest a bit more and get their ground sorted. But yeah, Allianz is just on a whole nother level. It's just horrible. Yeah,
difficult, right? Because there's always going to be scheduling problems. So the clubs need to be included in this and work out a way to separate themselves from the other sporting codes in the country. Let's go through some news before we go to the actual grand final and preview that. Let's start with the Asian Champions League. It was another week of disappointment, I guess you'd say, for most of the clubs in Australia. Brisbane lost 3-0. Wanderers got hammered 6-1. Both teams are bottom of their group. Yep. They've got no chance of qualification. The only bright spot, I guess, is Adelaide United. The only concern for them is they play the first team in the group. They've only lost the one game, conceded 3 goals in 5. They have to beat them. And then they've got to hope that, is it Jeju United drop to Gambia?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, it doesn't look promising. I think all Australian clubs are going to get knocked out. Do you have any thoughts about that? I felt like this has been on the cards for a month, 2 months at least.
Oh, look, I mean, I think the Red Diamonds against Wanderers, that was predictable because the Wanderers had just come off the back of a final loss. I mean, they were done mentally. I think they checked out. Brisbane Roar, surprised to see them go down to Muang Thong. I mean, if that's a Thai side, I mean, Aussie teams should be beating the Thai teams generally. So that was a disappointing result. I thought the Adelaide United game versus Gamba was a cracker. I actually turned it on. I saw that Gamba were up 2-0 in about 30 minutes, and I thought, this is...
Yeah, I texted you.
This is going to be rubbish. So I turned it off. Yeah, and then I ended up watching the highlights, and it was just an absolute cracker. Adelaide have had a pretty good Asian Champions League campaign, you'd have to say. They've had a pretty good second half of the season, really. Diawara's brilliant. Again, he's strong, he's holding the ball up, he's good in the air, he's a good header of the ball, he's a good finisher, he's a strong man in the front line there with his back to goal. He's a top-notch player for them, Diawara.
Is he too good?
Well,
is he going to be there next season?
Yeah, I don't know. They'll have to. They should be trying to re-sign him. Definitely, they might have to bump up his salary. I mean, he's really looked the goods. He's been impressive. So
yeah, such a good age too.
Yeah,
right?
I think 29, 28 or 29, and he's something that you don't see much of in the A-League, and it's a quality to have is, this striker that can hold the ball up, back to goal, very strong, and he's just good with his feet, good with his head, knows where the goals are, out and out striker, like good signing from Adelaide.
Long gone are the days of Heskey.
Yeah, that's right.
Target man.
That's right, yeah. And Diawara's a lot more mobile, He looks impressive, but, I don't know if Adelaide will have enough to go through, but good effort from them anyway. Good second half of the season, so interesting to see what happens with them more there.
Yeah, it's interesting for that reason. They've only lost the 2 games. They've scored 10 in the 5, so I mean, impressive for them. They'll probably miss out, but yeah, a good showing. Let's just go through some transfer news quickly. I think let's start with Scott Neville's joining Perth Glory. I think that means that Risdon's gone.
Yeah, so that's a trade, and I think and Neville comes back to the Glory. I think it'd been like.
What do you think of him? I think
he's all right.
I think he's solid,
He's
but
solid.
not spectacular.
He's a solid. If he was like a bench player for you, you'd be pretty happy.
But he's not going to be, I don't think.
He's definitely got some good. Yeah, I've seen. For the Wanderers, I think he's just been frustrating because he's got into some good positions and then lacked the delivery or something like that. So if he could improve just a little bit, I think he'd be a very good player.
Yeah, I agree. Interesting to see how he'll go with first team football because I think Risden's gone. One person who is definitely gone is FBK. He's leaving. Obviously, that was kind of obvious given the split between him and the manager.
He got a bit of a send-off.
He did, yeah. It was,
and he got a bit of a send-off against the Raw, but
the fans love him.
Interesting to see if he's... Well, and the rumours are now that he's going to Newcastle, so it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Because he hasn't mentioned anything about going home or retirement or anything like that, so I wouldn't be surprised if he rocks up for Newcastle next season or maybe Mariners or something like that.
Such a classy player. He hasn't spoken out, just kept quiet, and hopefully he does stay in the A-League because I think he still does have a lot to offer for especially for Newcastle. We've seen Colazzo go. McLaren has come out with his 80 clubs after him again. Comment from his agent. I didn't realize that it's the same agent that did the Aaron Moy deal. So there is speculation that it'll be a similar type of thing where he'll go to a big club but then get loaned out to a lower EPL team. I think that would be the right decision because I just can't see Jamie McLaren doing enough in like a mid-table EPL team just purely based off his consistency. I think he's got the talent, but he needs to do it more often than he does.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's had a cracking second half of the season as well, and he's stepped up. But yeah, like you said, the next step for him is crucial because I think he's done enough at A-League level now. Like that's 2 seasons now.
He can't do anything else in the A-League.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's risky where he goes next because, you go to a Premier League side or an EPL, Championship side or something, and the pressure is on. It's all about the goals. Every game is just a massive battle. So, for him to be slugging it out in some, like I said, mid-table team or something like that could, I don't know, that could put him under a lot of pressure. And, you haven't scored in 3, 4, 5 games. All of a sudden it's panic stations. I don't know. I can't see him being at Raw next season at least. But, if there's these rumours and stories that, he's going to do something like Aaron Moy and go to City and then be on loan or something, I don't know how I feel about that either.
Yeah, I just don't see him doing the same sort of impact that Aaron Moy did. Like, Moy got announced as the player of the year for the Huddersfield. I think they've actually made the top 6, haven't they? The knockout, the playoff.
Have they? Or they're somewhere there or thereabouts. But yeah, I mean, look, like you said, it's tougher for a striker.
It is because they're judged on goals, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just going to be all about goals and... especially in those kind of do or die leagues like that, it's immense pressure. But look, I mean, I rate Aaron Moy. I think he's very good. But if you look at it, I don't think he's been I haven't watched all the Huddersfield games, but, he's just been very, very solid and very, very consistent. Like week in, week out, he's been like, you would say probably, excellent every week. But, he's not, he's been put into a more defensive role. Yeah. So, I mean, look, he's still very good, but yeah, for McLaren to have that kind of an impact, he'd need to come in and score like, double figures somewhere. And that would be huge. So that's going to be an interesting one where he ends up.
Yeah, big ask. It's a massive decision for him because it can all go pear-shaped really quickly in Europe. So your fingers crossed for him. Right. He's the right age, so let's hope that he can do it. All right, so let's go to the A-League Grand Final. It's obviously a massive game of a season that these two teams have dominated. Should be a huge sellout, I imagine, as you were saying before, with the tickets. We both sort of hinted that Sydney FC going as firm favourites. What do you think of Melbourne Victory's chances, right? Because if they play like they did last week, they're going to get thrashed. But they do have some big match players. Like all we said about Berisha, he does show up in the big games. He does seem to love that environment. I don't really feel like Truisi and Rojas are the same. I think they are obviously fantastic players, but what do you think of the chances? They obviously need to keep it tight at the start, perhaps score first. But what sort of percent do you give them in this game? It's obviously a tough ask.
Yeah, I'll give them maybe, a 20% chance of winning, to be honest. I think they're really up against it. I think, if anyone is still doubting Sydney FC, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
They're damn good. And I think it's going to be a cracking atmosphere. I really hope it is, and I think it will be. I think a lot of Melbourne Victory fans are expected to be there, which will be exciting. I think it should make for a cracking atmosphere. It's really all about how the Melbourne Victory players get up for it. Is that intensity going to be there? And then, you worry, especially when they've got guys like Berisha, is, do they take that intensity too far and things like that as well? So it's a fine line for them. I think Sydney are just going to do what they've done all season pretty much. And, they'll just sort of keep you at bay until they can find a way in. I think Melbourne Victory need to play out of their skin to have any chance in this one, to be honest.
I think they do, just for the neutrals to have an open game, because I think Sydney is so experienced. Their backline is just so strong that this could be another tight, tentative first half. And, my prediction for this is Sydney win 2-0. I think Melbourne really struggle to score. Hopefully from a neutral standpoint that doesn't happen, but what's your prediction for the game? You think Sydney just comfortably?
Yeah, I think so. I think it could be maybe like a 3-1 or something like that. I mean, Victory, if anyone's good enough to score against Sydney, it probably is the Victory. But something like a 3-1 seems quite fair. And look, I think you're right. It was interesting, like being at that game, that was the first Sydney game I've been to for a while, and they do just kind of strangle teams out of the game. And, apart from the goals were cracking, but there's lots of moments in that game where Sydney just kind of, they control the tempo, they dictate the play. It's not very exciting, but they just kind of dominate the game and dictate the tempo and things like that. And then all of a sudden, there's a couple of moments where just all of a sudden it's like bang, 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 and they're in the box with a shot on goal.
It's a weird team, right? Because they're not Barcelona. They don't string 80 passes without the other team getting the ball.
No.
It's so...
what's exciting is, though, that they can, on a whim almost, when there's an opening, they do move the ball very quickly and efficiently, and they just all of a sudden they're in an attacking position. They can almost like flick a switch. Yeah. And it's like, in the meantime, they're happy to just sort of, be strong in defense, not let you get through, and just sort of basically control the game and look for that opening. And when the opening presents, they're just ruthless. And it just happens in the blink of an eye. It's incredible.
Perhaps not the best thing to watch, but so clinical. And they just seem to go to a level that no other team can. And they seem comfortable letting the other team have the ball. You saw it against Perth. They didn't mind Castro having it. They didn't mind conceding set pieces, some clinical fouls. They rotate the fouls well. And in the air, they're so good defensively. And Victory have a huge mountain to climb to get anything out of this, because I think Sydney, not the best visually, creatively, but they're so well coached. And I'd be shocked, honestly, if they didn't win this.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody would be, that would be an injustice, I think, against them. But I don't think they've got anything to worry about. 3-1 for Sydney, I think, for me.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I think I'll go 2-0, but hopefully you have fun at the game, because it should be an absolute incredible atmosphere there.
Yeah, well, hopefully I just don't, Sydney don't flog them and then we bump into some Melbourne Victory supporters and things go awry.
How does the seating work for that? Have you bought tickets in the Sydney area, or is it just wherever you sit?
I think we're just we're actually kind of on the corner one, because that's all I could get this time, but I think that's just going to be I'm guessing it'll be Sydney fans.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's designated Melbourne's fans section, designated Cove section, and then it kind of goes like bronze, silver, platinum, whatever.
You're gonna be sitting near those half scarf tossers that like have the the two teams on the one bit of merchandise. I hate those people. The keep it safe. Yeah.
Sitting on the fence. Nah. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it will be there. Those kind of fans. I'm guessing, it'll just be in amongst it. But yeah, I think I'm happy to just have gotten a seat because the tickets flew out the door. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's like I can't believe at that price that it's sold out. But yeah, a credit to both teams. Yeah. Let's have a look back at the season as a whole. I guess we'll start with goal of the season. I think like the obvious candidate is probably the Tim Cahill volley against Melbourne Victory. It's probably the biggest individual moment in terms of like the media attention and how often you see it. I think me personally, I was really impressed with Brandon's goal against Sydney.
I like that one as well. I thought that was an absolute cracker.
Yeah, the top team in the league. It involved like three players and an absolute like stunning tackle from behind. The little flick pass was great, and then he just dribbled past the Sydney defense and absolutely hammered it in. What did you like?
Yeah.
There was quite a few decent goals. You got the McLaren volley that was just a few weeks ago, but anything stand out to you?
Look, I mean, I did think the Cahill one. Because of the kind of the context in the match, and it was early on in the season and the atmosphere, and when you actually look at it on replay, you look at the quality of the strike and you can appreciate it. And it's always going to be one of those kind of speckies that, those long range ones and stuff. Yeah, it's the whole moment and everything and the highlight reel, and it looks good on the highlight reel and stuff. But I thought I'm with you, Brandon's was just an absolute cracker. Like the technique in that, the curve that he got on the ball, and just the way that it was, rounding off a whole play. I thought Brandon's was absolute cracker.
Yeah, it's my favourite. I think Cahill's obviously, I don't know if it did. Did it win the goal of the season? I don't know if they voted
I think
yet.
it did. No, well, it won it at the A-League Awards anyway. Yeah. So, which is, and I guess we can compare our verdicts to that one. If you look at, obviously, the runaway winner for the medal, I think was the Johnny Warren medal, is it? Or the Joe Marston medal? One of the two. I think it's the Johnny Warren medal, is it?
The player of the season?
Ninkovic, player of the season.
Yeah, he was 7 votes ahead of Castro.
Won it easily in the end.
Yeah, 7 votes.
Look, I mean, you can't argue with it. I mean, Ninkovic has been brilliant, and watching him in person, I kind of really focused in on him a little bit at times in that game on the weekend against the Glory, and there was a few moments where he was just brilliant on the ball. But I'm just wondering, this might be a little bit controversial, but is he just a little bit overhyped? Because I just look at the stats of Rojas, and Rojas has just demolished him in the stats.
Rojas went through a period, this would have been around 18 or so, that he was just scoring and assisting for fun. I think Ninkovic is overrated in the sense that he doesn't produce a statistic that warrants it, but I think there was a period in Sydney's season where Ninkovic was doing it by himself. I know on the podcast we spoke quite often about how Holosko and Bobe weren't producing, and if it wasn't for Ninkovic, they'd be dropping games. So, there was a key period in the season where Ninkovic was the main man. I don't think he was the main man the whole season, but if you're looking at the key individual players in the team, I think Ninkovic does rate fairly highly. The finals do factor in as well. If Sydney got knocked out straight away in, say, Perth Glory or Melbourne Victory, put in better performances, and maybe the lead towards like a Castro or a Rojas would be heavier. But I think given Sydney's dominance, then Ninkovic is just the obvious choice.
Yeah, and he is, and definitely he's got the hype, and like you said, there were times there where he was really leading the lines for Sydney FC, and he was really keeping them the minute. And I think maybe, you look at just the overall play and off the ball and work off the ball and things like that. And that's probably where Ninkovic outshines a Rojas. And maybe, he's a little bit more spectacular or whatever. But I mean, I'm just looking at these stats now. Rojas has played 400 fewer minutes and he's had 4 less starts. But if you look at the attack, Ninkovic 9 goals, Rojas 12. Shots on target, Ninkovic 20, Rojas 27. Shooting accuracy, Ninkovic 54, Rojas 73. Assists 11 each. Chances created, Ninkovic 36, Rojas 40. You look at those stats and Rojas is outshone him, I think. But then you look at the defensive stats, and this is where I think probably it comes in for Ninkovic. Tackles 1, 37 for Ninkovic, 10 for Rojas. Interceptions 43 for Ninkovic, 28 for Rojas. So I think that's where his game was gone to a new level this season. For Ninkovic, is that work off the ball and his teamwork, and being more of an all-round midfielder. Whereas Rojas is probably still very much a final third kind of a player. But, I just think for someone like Rojas to have scored 11 assists, and 12 goals for the season, I mean, that's impressive.
It's interesting though because Rojas never scored against Sydney for the season.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He hasn't been that big game player. Even though he's got these stats, he's never really kind of taken the game by the scruff of the neck or anything like that.
No, that's the thing, right? Because his only double goals tallies for the season were against the Mariners, against Wellington. He only did it twice. He got a few goals against Perth Glory, but I mean, anyone did. And I think he scored against City both times. So, I mean, he's done well in some of the big games, but he's never shown up against the Sydney sides. And when they finished first and sixth, they need more from him, though his stats are very impressive.
That's right. And yeah, look, I mean, when you break it down like that, I think Ninkovic is a fair winner. And I would have to say the same, best player for me and best foreign player as well for the season. As much as I love my Castro as well.
Ninkovic isn't a marquee though, is he?
Well, see, this is what I'm not sure about because I saw on the news today the article was that Bobo's about to re-sign and he's going to be the marquee. So I don't know if was Bobo already the marquee this season?
Yeah, he was. I'm almost
certain
did they make Ninkovic isn't a marquee.
Yeah, look, I don't know if they're keeping him under the cap. That's going to be interesting.
Surely they can't anymore.
well, what are they going to do then if they've got Bobo? They're going to sign Bobo as their marquee. And that's another one I'm not sure about, to tell you the truth. Just to stray off topic from the awards for a sec, but what do you make of Bobo? 15 goals for the season, 4th in the Golden Boot. Now, from what I saw in that article, I think he's going to get he's 32 years old. He's going to get a marquee deal with Sydney, who are super impressed with him. I don't know. I mean, I think he's been good and he's definitely scored a few clutch goals, but is 15 goals enough?
I don't think I think the problem is he doesn't score enough clutch goals. I think he's a workhorse. He's good in the system. But I can't recall too many games where he's had a moment of brilliance, and that's been the reason why Sydney have won.
Yeah.
I think he scores a lot of his goals when they're, in that sort of period where they score 2 or 3 quick goals, and he's just a part of that. Obviously, Holosko and him were excellent at the start of the season, but there was a period where he just dropped off. And, I think he's very good in the system itself. But, I don't know, 32, Brazilian... I think they could improve there, but the question is, maybe he doesn't want too many wages. Maybe he's happy there, and if it's an easy talk in terms of signing a new contract, then maybe you just go with it. But I don't think he's been amazing. I think there's been far better strikers in the league, Berisha, McLaren, and solid but not spectacular for me.
Yeah, I'm the same, and I was surprised to see that they're going to offer him another marquee deal at 32. Like I said, I thought they could get him under the cap and get an even bigger striker. I mean, he's shown signs of promise.
And like I said, he's been in the right place at the right time on a few occasions, but probably not enough. And 15 goals, 3 penalties, not good enough for me, considering 20 is the benchmark. And he's in the best side in the league, but that's up to Sydney if they want to re-sign him. But onto the awards then. So who's your who's the best new player, I guess, that we've seen this year?
New player. So people that haven't just come back.
No,
so it has to be
I think someone new. I think for me would probably be at the start of the season. I would have probably said Brandon. He really impressed me.
You know who I really like? The Sydney centre back, whose name I can never pronounce. Geordie Boys.
Jordy. Is it Geordie Boys? The Dutchman. Yeah, he's been a good addition. I feel
like he should be in team of the season, to be honest.
He's been really good, and he's slotted right in. He's been a good acquisition to really strengthen an already dominating Sydney backline. For me, I thought Brandon was really impressive. Obviously, he got injured and fell away a fair bit towards the end of the season. Cahill, if we consider him a new player to the league, I think he's done pretty well. 11 goals. All up. I think he's been relatively impressive. I think the other one is Christensen from Brisbane Roar. He's been quite good.
He's been fantastic.
But for me, I guess you'd have to say Cahill probably for me, if you're looking at just purely new players new to the league this season, who's had the most impact. Maybe Cahill would be the one.
Yeah, I think he's led the line. He obviously had all the media attention, and he's been the most efficient in a City side that have really struggled with their identity all season.
Yeah.
The question mark is how long can he keep doing it, and what influence does his position in the team impact the rest of the players around him. That's not his fault, but I think he's been great, and a benefit to the A-League. So fingers crossed they can build a much better team around him, because I still do think he's got 2 or 3 years left in him at this sort of level.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Let's just go to the team of the season. I don't think we're going to go through position by position. We'll use Mark Bosnich's. He's 4-4-2 as an example. Is there anything that stands out for you that you would change? I'll just go through the team quickly for those that haven't seen it. They've got Vukovic as keeper, Zulo as a left back, Wilkinson and Barrow as a centre back pairing. They've got Grant as a right back, Castro out wide on the left, Ninkovic and Brillante in the middle, Brosk out right, and they've got McLaren and Barisha as the 2 strikers. I think for me, the 2 strikers are 100% correct. I don't think you put anyone above them. I guess the question is, like you said, is Rojas done more than Barisha?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. And Rojas is that kind of player that you could play him as a striker. You could have him leading the line because he's
behind McLaren.
Yeah, pretty much. Although I guess him and McLaren are similar in some ways. Look, the question one, Bozza going off that one. Barrow's been good for Victory. I think, like I said, probably even in half a season, Geordie Boys has been better, or maybe even someone like Jakobsen from City. Corey Brown, there's another one. And the rest of it, you look at that, it's pretty hard to go past the Sydney players on that one. Christensen's another one that you might want to put in there again. Like I said, I've been super impressed with him. But I mean, you look at that.
I feel like Janjetovic has done more as an individual than Vukovic, but Vukovic was in the team that dominated.
Yeah, I think Vukovic is, look, he hasn't had to do that much, I guess you could say. It's been a pretty good year for keepers all round, I think. I guess you just have to give it to Vukovic because the stats, in clean sheets and all that sort of stuff. I mean, they've conceded, 15 goals all season or something ridiculous
it's
like
incredible.
That. You got to give it to him. But team of the season's always one of those tough ones, I think. You look at that and you go, but you could nitpick it all night. I think we need to move on. Time to say goodbye to the A-League.
It's been
we've
fun.
We've podcasted the shit out of it.
We we have.
And,
next season, I promise that I'll keep tally of our votes.
About tips, look, I wouldn't want to
tips.
see that now anyway, I think. It's been shocking.
I don't think they're great.
No, I don't think we know what
shocking.
we're talking about at all. Why are we even doing a podcast?
I don't know. We have mics, so we figured.
That's right. But yeah, say goodbye to the A-League, Chad. It's grand final time, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Hopefully it's a good game, and we could be back to talk about transfers. But yeah, until then, we'll catch you later, A-League. We will go quickly into the EPL. There's been a few games. I think the big talking point, as always, seems to be Arsenal.
Yeah.
They got annihilated by Spurs. Could have been 5, 6, 7. I guess the question is whether does it have any impact on Arsene Wenger and whether he leaves. Because you see United drop points, you see City, they drop points, and it's such a huge chance, and you just teams don't get all those chances to make up points in the race of 4, and I feel like this is over for Arsenal. You saw Liverpool's fantastic goal.
Yeah.
Emre Can scored a stunner, and I think Arsenal out of the top 4, I think it's 100%. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, Tottenham put them to the sword, and then, like you said,
completely.
It could have been so much more, and Tottenham have thrown down the gauntlet big time. That's a huge result for them, and I think, like I said, this is going to be the first time in however many years it is that Tottenham finish again ahead of Arsenal. Like, it's happening. Newsflash, Arsene Wenger, it's happening. It's all happening. I don't know if he's just disconnected from reality or what, but it's happening. I mean, they're only 2 points ahead of Everton, for God's sake. Arsenal are in strife, and like you said, when you had the Manchester teams dropping points and things like that, Arsenal just do this to themselves. But Tottenham, wow, they're right fantastic. In the thick of it. 4 points behind Chelsea now. Like I said, I think Tottenham have another tough game coming up. Do they not? They do soon. I think
they play Man United.
They're playing
in I think next week. They play Hull first. I think that's a midweek game.
Well, they got West Ham.
And they've got to play.
It says here as well. So
West Ham first, and then United, Leicester, Hull. So it's not that easy, but I think because Chelsea, they've got 3 home games, and they play away to West Brom. So I mean, they should navigate this.
Oh, look, I mean, I mean, Chelsea are still in the box seat, 4 points. As long as they don't lose their nerve, then 4 points is something. But I mean, look, you've got Arsenal there, like you said. Not only are they not going to make the Champions League, not only is Tottenham going to finish ahead of them, but they've potentially, handed Tottenham the title in a way. Like, they've put Tottenham in a strong position for the title. Because this was the opportunity for Arsenal to basically beat Tottenham and kind of, finish their title aspirations. And instead they've given them a boost. Just catastrophic from Arsenal. I think the top 4 hopes are well and truly over now. Unless, Man United... Who
are you tipping for top 4?
Well, look, I mean... Look, Arsenal can still do it, I guess. They do have that one game in hand. So, let's say that they win that somehow. They're still only a win out of the top 4. So they do still have, I guess, a theoretical chance, and United are just in a little bit of a form slump at the moment. Not enough to start losing, but missing Ibrahimovic, they're just missing that little bit of leadership and spark, and they've got the potential to drop a few more points before the end of the season. And City again just kind of wobbly as well. So Arsenal aren't completely out of it, but they have to win at least. The next one, that one that they've got in hand, is really a must win for them. But
I think even if Arsenal go above United, they're not going to get the top 4.
Well,
because I think Liverpool and City have such good fixtures that I just can't see either team missing out. I think United and Arsenal are going to be the two teams that miss out this season.
Yeah, and for United that wouldn't be the end of the world. For Arsenal, yeah, we'll see what that brings about. But yeah, I mean, look, I think you're right. It's probably locked in. It really depends on how wobbly do City get in the run in home, and with Man United again, they're a bit touch and go at the moment as well. It seems like it's kind of coming to the end of a long season for them. They've still got a chance, and I think being a point down against City, they're still going to give it a red hot go. But I just don't know with their injury toll at the moment, it might be a stretch.
What are you predicting their match against Arsenal on the Sunday?
That's going to be huge because again it's
on
Mourinho.
My birthday, if you weren't aware.
Is it? Yeah,
if
right.
Arsenal ruined my birthday.
Yeah, well, look, I got some bad news for you, mate. Because there's a special one, Jose Mourinho, and he doesn't like Arsene Wenger very much.
He likes crushing dreams.
He likes picking on old frail men. So I don't know. It could be a wake up call. Well, Gunners are in with a chance. Look, no Ibrahimovic is obviously huge, but off the back of the Tottenham performance,
I can't see it.
The only thing, the thing is, I don't think United are going to play that way. United aren't in that ruthless streak. And I think, Mourinho will probably be more interested in mind games and things like that and trying to craft some sort of special win against Wenger. Man United aren't going to put them to the sword like that. But if Arsenal lose this, it's all over.
Yeah, the most interesting thing for me will be the crowd reaction. Because I think that is the only thing that I'm unsure about.
They start chanting right now for Mourinho, maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
No, I just think if you get look, that will be telling. But I just think you got someone like Mourinho and Man United coming to your ground. You don't boo your team or your manager or start chanting anything. You just got to let the game play out. Maybe after the game, but I'd hate to see stuff during the game like that. I mean, you don't do that in front of your enemies.
They did the same against Spurs. They didn't chant or get aggressive because it is Spurs. They kept it in-house for that game. So, yeah, you may be right. Maybe Man United isn't the game you do it.
Yeah. Oh, but, yeah, I mean, yeah, who knows? If Gunners go down 3-0, then, I'd be getting out of there.
Yeah.
Could get nasty.
Beat the traffic.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, beat the traffic.
I guess let's just talk quickly about the Champions League. Ronaldo hat-trick, 3-0. We've seen that scoreline quite a bit in the quarterfinals, the semi-finals. I think it's done, the tie. I don't think Atletico have. They got Griezmann, obviously, but I don't see them getting 3 goals back in an all-Spanish derby. What do you think? You think it's done?
Oh, yeah. It's the Ronaldo show. I mean, you can't love him or hate him. He delivers once again. And I think, 3-0, it'll be a tough one. Although, with the some of the refereeing we've seen in the Champions League as well, like anything's possible. But I think, Real Madrid will crush them. Too good. Yeah,
too good. I guess this game tonight or tomorrow morning will be far more intriguing because you've got two teams that play ultraly different, both attacking and defending. So, I'm hoping Monaco win, but I think Juventus will be the better grand final, the final itself. So, it's I don't really mind who wins that game, to be honest.
I think Juventus Real Madrid would be a clash of the Titans. I think it'll be a Champions League classic. So, that would be the game I'd want to see in the final.
As long as it ends in Ronaldo tears, I'm perfectly fine with
tears of joy.
You going for them, are you?
No, not really. I do like my Juve a little bit as well. So, look, I mean, I'm not a Ronaldo fan, but you can't disrespect the great one.
No, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. Yeah. Let's leave it there for this season.
Wow. That's it.
Yeah. 30 episodes done.
Wow. In the bag.
Can you believe it?
In the can.
In the bag.
On the internet.
I don't even know when the next season starts. When is that?
I don't know. Probably not till like October or something. So,
is it really that long?
We might have to. I think we'll have to come out of retirement for some specials. at some
That'll
opportune
find a
times.
hobby.
You know, maybe a FA Cup final special or a Champions League final special or a couple of Socceroos specials here and there. So I think we'll be popping up here and there, I think.
Yeah, we'll be back. Just thanks to everyone that's watched for this season. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, we've gotten better at the production side of things as we've gone on, so hopefully everything's good on that end. Thank you for joining me throughout this season, Edin. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, let's do it all next season once again.
Yeah, we'll come back bigger than ever. So until then, you can of course find this episode at www.theaverageaustralian.com. We're also on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Patreon. Please do like, subscribe wherever possible. You can obviously like and abuse us at the same time.
That's
so
fine.
Feel free to do that. But yeah, we'll be back. I don't know, a couple months maybe. We'll see what happens. If you want us back, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to go find a hobby, maybe fold up origami or something.
That's
we'll
right.
See. But until then, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.